And there's four.
Chester's joining.
Oh,
Just saw Chester come in. Did you guys all get that notice come up at your screen? I tried to just turn on the recording. Okay.
yeah.
So I'll make the little statement here at the beginning. Before we get started, this meeting will be recorded. We'll post it on our YouTube channel probably tomorrow. So if you participate, if you share anything, if you share your video or audio, that your consent is implied by staying on this meeting and participating after this notice. And if you're not speaking, please set your microphone to mute, and then there's an opportunity for public input, or if you do have something to say, just go ahead and unmute yourself at that point. But if you're not speaking, just go ahead and hit mute so we don't get feedback or background. With that, I'll turn it over to Barry.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan. All right, we'll start out meeting with roll call.
Okay, Barry McManaway,
Present.
Pete Peterson,
Present.
Chester Goot,
Present.
Wayne Bean,
Present.
Marty Osterbahn, Dan Osborne,
Present.
Joel Samuelson. Joel, I saw you, so I know you're here. And I'm sorry, I didn't hear it. Is Wayne, are you there?
No.
No, Wayne's not
Okay.
here.
All right, so we do have quorum. Wayne is absent, Marty is absent, and of course Chuck is with us as well.
All right, want to join us in pledge of allegiance? Pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag.
United
United States of America.
America.
Which it stands.
Nation,
One nation,
God,
under God,
Indivisible. Indivisible. With liberty and justice for all.
Justice for all.
was right. I didn't.
We were singing the choir.
I'm glad you got that recorded.
You guys hear me?
Yes, Chester.
Oh, okay.
Jonathan? That's not Sylvia.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay, I got Wayne Bean here and call. Okay. Wayne, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm on.
Okay.
Got it.
And we also have Brian Werner. Brian, can you hear me? Brian?
It's really Russ Mason, okay?
Yeah, I was gonna say that's Russ's.
Oh, okay, you're on his. Okay. All right, so we're good.
All right, moving along. All right, we need the approval of the February meeting minutes. I know it's been a while. I hope everybody's updated themselves on it.
So moved.
I got
So moved.
Second.
I've got them second and first.
Who was the second there?
Pete.
Okay.
All right, got the motion and second. So all in favor, I'm gonna address you personally so that you can vote, or not be whatever. And I'll start with,
Wayne.
oh yeah, Wayne.
Aye.
Aye.
All right, Dan Osborne,
Aye.
Joel Samuelson,
Joel, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Joel Samuelson, can you hear me? All right, we'll move on, come back. Don Fox,
Aye.
Chester Goot,
Aye.
and Pete Peterson.
Aye.
Is that everybody? I think I got everybody. Back to Joel. got it. Joel, are you on? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my webcam.
All right, you vote yes or no on the minutes, approval.
Yes.
Okay. So it's unanimous.
Okay, we just had somebody else join us. I don't have a name here.
Is that Joel by phone?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay,
George, who's in his phone? Okay. All right. Moving on to old business. And what we got on old business, I know Chuck wants to talk about the unsafe buildings update.
yeah, we've been working on that. We do have good news. We did get part of Ohio Street torn down. Bob Cooper's place. The house is down. Now we're arguing about the foundation. He said he wants to build back on it, but I haven't examined it yet to see if it's going to be safe. So anyway, that part is down. Happy with that. We're still, Jonathan and I have been looking out for 709 Obispo with the new owner. And we are expecting them to start soon. If they don't give us an update, then we're going to take them back to court for not getting started. That's the one that we had probably for a year and a half, 2 years. So I think that's all that we've got right now in the town. Just inside of our zoning limits, we have George Hoppel. So that's ongoing. He's supposed to be coming to our unsafe meeting on the 25th and to tell us why he isn't moving and what we're going to try to do with him. So
Which one is that, Chuck?
George Hoppel out on 17th.
Chuck, which one was that?
George Hoppel on 17th Road.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right.
Chester, it's one over my left shoulder.
Oh, your neighbor?
Yeah.
Okay.
Chuck, is there any update on the Boatsma property?
The update on Boatsma is that he did get the roof put back down and everything on the outside looks
Terrible.
it looks bad, like Barry said, but it's safe enough and doesn't appear to be falling in. So right now, there's not too much I can do with it. He had been in negotiations to sell that. I did hear from the people that were looking at buying it, and he said that they backed out because Boatsma keeps changing his mind on what he wants to do, or how he wants to do it. So right now, the buyer's backed out. We're back at zero on him.
Property, Chuck?
What's that?
Where is the Boatsma property?
That's at the corner of Jefferson and 17.
Oh, okay, thank you. Uh-huh,
That's Kevin Berger's neighbor.
got it.
I have a question for Chuck. But on that roof of that Boatsma building, I noticed there's concrete blocks stacked all the way across that on the east side of that building. And I was just wondering, as far as the unsafe part of that, I know that
Well,
they do come back and tell people to remove me.
well, for those of you who didn't hear, Barry was asking about the bricks and that he has holding the roof on, or just at being a safety issue. I'll discuss that with him. I don't know that I can make him take the bricks off. They're concrete blocks, probably 18 pounds, 24 pounds. So I don't know that I can make him take them off, but I'll try to push that as far as I can.
I didn't know what the actual protocol is on part.
Okay. Anything else on unsafe?
I have nothing. Don, you have anything?
I do not.
Pete?
Chuck, was that an exterior examination you had, or did you have a chance to gain entrance?
On Boatsma, it was
Yes.
Boatsma was only exterior.
Okay. Thank you.
Because,
That's all I had.
because there's not anything crumbling on the outside, he doesn't have to admit me,
Sure.
according to ordinance.
Yep.
Right.
All right, Chester, you have anything?
No,
All right, Wayne? Wayne, you still with us? Mr. Bean?
No.
Still.
Hello?
Hello. Yeah, you have anything else for unsafe buildings for Chuck?
What was the name on the 709 Obispo?
709.
It's Kathy Russell.
Okay, thank you, Jonathan.
All right, no further things for Chuck on the old business. We've got new business. And one of the things that's on the agenda is discussion of the L1 accessory structures and exemptions. As far as where we've been, as far as setting precedent on and what the intent is.
Okay, that's one of the things we want to get some clarification from the Plan Commission is exactly what was the intent in the ordinance for the accessory structures in the front yard. It seems like somebody's either asking for a variance or putting up the biggest, closest that they can. Is it, so if you can help us with what the intent is, then we'll know whether we can pass these things on or whether they have to come to the BZA or just get completely denied.
I'm going to make a statement here for you guys before we start. I know in the ordinance, we've got a 25-foot setback on the lakeside front yard. And I know in the past, as Planning Commission for years, we've always looked at try to keep accessory structures out of the front yard. But I don't think that there's anything in black and white on our ordinances that say that, which has been in the recent issues on the lake that it is 25 feet that haven't been required a variance to put an accessory structure in the front yard.
This is Don. I just have a question. Can Chuck, can you refer us to which section of the ordinance we're looking at, just so I can flip to it?
Yeah, hold just a second here.
It's I'm looking at it. I think it's page 83 is probably what we're talking about if we're looking at just the L1
Yeah.
district part of it. The second paragraph there on page 83. And if you want, I'll read that aloud for everybody. If you don't have your book, it says, in L1 Lake Residential Districts, one accessory structure normally associated with lakefront usage shall be permitted within the required front yard setback area. Such structure shall not exceed 250 square feet and not to exceed 2.5 feet, 30 inches, in parentheses, in height. And so that was changed from how it used to read, which was basically the exemption was for things like boathouses, sheds, and patios along the lakefront. And the size, the 250 square feet stayed the same, but in the past it was the normal accessory structure height. We actually reduced it in this revision of the ordinance. And that was mainly as something that we thought could protect views of the lake and encourage views of the lake.
When that height restriction came across, I hate to use the word restriction, but we reduced it to 30 inches. And I know it was due to seawall, was one of the main issues that were addressed at that time. There everybody remember that. He would- The others probably wasn't up here at the time.
So it's basically restricted to almost to a pump house, it looks like.
Right. I mean, just recently, they came for the BZA for the variance on, that was it.
He's sure. 1680.
Yeah, 1680 East Shore. And they wanted the variance for a boat shed. Now, it was actually, was it 6 feet over the, what was the size? But anyway, it doesn't matter. But,
It was larger than the 200 square feet.
Yeah.
250.
250 feet, but it was actually going to be 256 or whatever. Not that that really matters at this point. But the structure was actually, because of the grade coming off the hill to the lake, they put the boat shed
In the hill.
in the hill with a cap on the top. And so there was no site restriction or anything because of it, but it was put in the ground and put like a walkout. And after looking over, reviewing the print, or the footprint on it, it was actually 25 feet from the lake where the house, where the building
Right.
was being put. So we agreed that they wouldn't need a variance due to the fact that it was not within that 25-foot setback. Were we correct on that as far as the intent of the Plan Commission? Is just what we need clarification on. Anybody have any comments? Pete, you have anything?
No, I guess I don't want to take us off task here, but you mentioned the height thing. Maybe that eventually should read from existing grade, just like everything else. But I have nothing to address. I guess it's the 25-foot setbacks. I guess I thought that was 10 feet for some reason. I don't know where I got messed up there.
Off the lake? I mean, all L1 as far as your front yard
It's
setback
25.
feet
Yep.
from
Yeah,
high water.
Residential is 10.
Anybody have any comments on that? Wayne, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Well, what are you guys thinking as far as these boathouses and things that we're putting there? That's what we're seeing come before the BZA for variances. They come before for a variance of setback from the lake and also for variance of height.
So this is Don. I have a question. Barry, you just gave an example about a recent BZA case, and you all decided that a variance wasn't needed because the structure was just not was not within the setback. Do I understand that correctly?
Right, not within within the setback. It was more than 25 feet from the lake.
Okay. So looking at the wording of the ordinance, which talks about one accessory structure, even though that's the example you gave is not within the setback, is that their one and only accessory structure they could have?
In the front yard, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, they did have a patio that was existing. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Where they built, it was it was within the 25-foot setback on it. Like it's probably 20 feet. But it was existing, so there was never a question on that. But is the height, Pete, that you were talking about, as far as you think that was not looked at hard enough? Or
Well, if you had an issue in which they dug it into the ground, I mean, that, to me, that's no different to the primary structure on L1. We've had issues with that over the years, as far as we had to go back and put some teeth in this thing as far as existing grade, for the simple fact they just dig it down and get around it that way. So I mean, if the height thing is the biggest issue, I think it needs to be a little more clarification. But if it's a simple fact that everyone is just attempting to put a full-size structure down there by just doing an end run through the BZA, to me, this was put here to alleviate that. And I think we have to leave this stand for the simple fact that we have to have some kind of, defense on this thing.
Right, I see what you're saying. That was my intent as well back when that was proposed. Anybody else have anything on that? Tom, Joel, or Chester, Wayne?
You're talking about 250 square foot.
Yes.
Yes.
Only thing I can see a problem with that's coming in the future is I'm assuming some people use them to put their boats in and things like that.
Yes.
250 square foot building is going to be like 10 foot by 25 feet.
Yeah.
And you're going to get boats that are bigger than that today.
So as far as saying it's a boathouse, but what we see is a lot of the kayaks, water toys, the jet skis, that sort of thing. We see them using it for that.
Which is
whatever
okay.
they would use on a weekend.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
To say if somebody ever comes back and wants to store a boat, I mean, we could run into a problem. It's just something to think about,
And at 30-inch height, what are we talking about? Is that from existing grade, so they can dig into the ground, or what is a 30-inch?
Well,
height
yes,
for-
Chester, you are right. The 30 inches is from grade, but the chances of them digging into the ground around the lake are pretty slim because the water table is so high.
Yeah.
So they're not digging down there.
Could they, if they wanted to? Go up 30 inches from grade and then dig down to make a boathouse even with the lake or something. I don't know.
You take
Chuck.
place as far as the northeast part.
I don't think that I remember that meeting, and I don't think that they weren't going to put in a boathouse where you could actually drive a boat into.
No,
Right.
no,
Right.
they would not.
I think that's really with these people. This is a structure that was up above grade, right?
Correct.
Right. Yeah.
5 feet from the lake.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for storage, like you said, or who said for like kayaks or whatever, that's what that was all about, right?
Right, and that's 99% of boat sheds, whatever you want to call them, is what they want them for.
Right.
Some of them want that in a shower. I mean, I've known this in the past, but I mean, we're not talking about a boat actually being in these.
Right. Well, I think that's what you need. Yeah, I think a storage shed would be, more appropriate, name for it instead of a boat
probably
shed.
more better description.
Absolutely.
But you asked about the 30-inch height. I mean, there was a lot of talk, I mean, from the public that wanted to have a more open view of the lake, not just from the lake house that somebody owns. And so the 30-inch, and I think for us, if he's still here, we'd probably even know a lot about that at the time. But that's where the 30-inch came from. And so we pretty well held that 30-inch height as a straight line description as far as what would be allowed. I mean, instead of coming back through on a branch and say, well, if it's a seawall, it has to be no more than 30. If it's a accessory structure for storage, it would be 10 feet or whatever. But I mean, if you I think we were all looking at what would be the more credible height as far as what we would want to hold as a standard for the L1. For lack of better words, I'd say.
Barry, this is Russ. Are you referring to the height for start of the building, or not the total height, right?
Total height.
It's kind of hard to put an accessory structure that's only 30 inches high. I'm confused.
Right. We just had one put in that was 0,
Oh, because it was put into the hill.
but it was put in the ground.
Yeah.
But I realize what you're saying. I mean, that's why that we have this discussion right now, because a lot of people are still wanting these boathouses, and we want to know what the intent of as far as before we put this guideline on the ordinance itself.
I was thinking of like a gazebo, because that's what I had when I was on the lake, and that was my accessory structure in the front yard. But that was certainly more than 30 inches high. It was probably 12 or 13 feet high. It was under 16 because I didn't need a variance.
Right.
But is the new ordinance eliminate all those kind of things?
Well, we don't know if it eliminates them or not. We're just trying to see what the intent was, because at 30 inches, it does eliminate any storage shed in the front yard.
But honestly, Russ, as far as what you're asking, if this storage unit, whatever we want to call it, as far as accessory structure, is beyond that 25-foot setback, it's at this point, it's not been a complicated question, I guess.
No, we're just talking about in the setback area, whatever that is,
Right in the setback area, yes.
which is minimum of 25 feet or more if average distance is greater than that too. So we're talking about the front yard setback on an L1.
Yes.
But I didn't know you guys changed the ordinance so you couldn't have any kind of gazebo or patio or anything like that on the lakeside.
Well, we're not really sure that was ever the intent when the ordinance was changed, but we're just looking at the black and white now. We want to try and clarify what really should be in the ordinance.
Because if we do need to change it, we can make an amendment and put it in there if that's.
Well, I don't get a vote, but I just think you're going to have all kinds of variances because people are going to want to put a fire pit with chairs around it on a patio. They're going to want to put a gazebo there, maybe some kind of pump for the lake. There's all kinds of things that could pop up, and you'll be in variances all the time.
Yeah. We just had Jim. Hold a second. We just had Jim Easterday join us. Jim, do you have a comment on that? Must not hear me. Go ahead.
I don't know whether you can hear me or not. Do you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you there, Jim.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think you guys are looking at the right issues. The big issue I have is your definition of accessory structure. Because if you read it black and white, which is the way we probably should, then an accessory structure is anything. I mean, it includes mailboxes, it includes curbs, it includes everything in the world. And on the lake, on the L1, you can only have one accessory structure. And like Russ just said, I don't think it was ever the intent to, well, in fact, the ordinance refers to things like gazebos and storage units and things. And so to say that you can only have one on the whole property and it can't be more than 30 inches high just didn't seem to make sense to me. That's my input.
Right.
Yeah.
We're only allowing one in the front yard setback for it on L1. But I know
No, it's one on the whole property, I think.
I'm just, this is Don. I didn't get, who's speaking? Jim, I didn't get your last name.
Jimmy.
Easter Day.
Oh, Jim, sorry. Okay.
Guys, I remember, I know our intent was to keep the structures height to a minimum for visual, like Barry was saying, and that I know that was part of that. And when I hear the word structure, and I cringe on the definition because we've been challenged on this before, and we've changed that definition more than once.
you think that the definition of the structure should be looked at, amended it in a way that we don't want to leave any kind of ambiguity in the definition, but we want a standard that's going to be fair to all. I mean, as far as I would,
Yeah, we have to almost resort to council on that one because we lost that challenge on the south end. Remember that, Barry?
yes, I do. I remember it well.
We thought we had that. We thought we had that airtight, and then we found out it was actually too restrictive, and it was
Right, but I do remember when
bite
it
us.
started. Remember, Pete, and we looked
Yep.
back at the ordinance, what it read, and in black and white, they had everything on their side. And that's why I want to push to make sure, this is the personal part of it, that we do put it in black and white, it's fair to all. It's not going to be something that can be loophole or whatever you want to call it.
Do we make a list of things? I mean, some other place in the ordinance has a list of examples.
I don't think it would be wrong and probably more efficient if we did subdivide as far as what structure it is. Yeah, I mean,
Of course, you look at page 83 on A. It does give a definition.
on 83.
Yep. Previous page on A.
Yeah, an examples for accessory structures. Yep.
Yeah, people did it. Here. That structure shall not exceed 250 square feet and not to exceed 2.5 feet in height. But it's actually being called a associated with lakefront usage, but it's not saying as far as associated with it.
So could we do this, guys? How about we all focus on this, and when we get back together next month, maybe if you could come up with an idea or a way that you had, or just even leave it the same, we could send it out ahead of time. Everybody could be looking at it. When we get together, we could talk and come up with a plan to,
Sounds good.
okay.
Yeah, I guess this is Don. I'm still trying to understand, because honestly, when I look at the definition on page 82 and then the language on 83, and we're talking about structures within the setback. So to Russ's example about the gazebo, if it wasn't within the setback, then a gazebo would be fine. I'm trying to understand the problem, I guess, because I think it's pretty clear.
I think we're looking at the 30-inch high when it's not within, if it's in the setback.
Uh-huh.
If not, if it's beyond the 25 feet, then there hasn't been any question about it at this point. But
Right.
there's no writing in the book that says one way or the other. Am I correct?
Okay.
I mean, if we feel like those accessory structures can be 16 feet on that one.
Yeah.
If the 16-foot high accessory structure on the front yard, as long as it meets the 25-foot setback, is all right with everybody, then we might need to just amend the ordinance to where we put that in.
Ooh,
I mean, it's either been left out by accident, oversight.
isn't that why isn't that one of the reasons we went to 30 inches?
The 30 inches we were looking at it within that, when it was close to the lake.
So maybe one way to approach that would be to have just to do that with examples right there in the L1. Within the setback 30 inches, outside the setback, gazebo, other storage thing, whatever.
16 foot.
Yeah.
That could make sense.
That can make sense.
Yeah, that makes the most sense in my opinion.
Okay, well, let's see what we can
We'll
do.
table this if it's all right with everybody else. We'll bring it up to the next meeting then. We can get back together.
Fine, fine.
I don't think we have to vote on that, do we?
No.
Okay.
Give us some time to roll it around our brain.
Right. But I want everybody to at least think about it and let it roll. All right, next up was a new business with discussion of residential rear yard setback requirements. And the reason this is on here is because in our ordinance book, every district, every zoning, except for S1, has a backyard setback of 25 feet now in our ordinance book. And forever, it's been 10 feet. And now, since we got the new ordinances, I don't know what happened to where it's now 25. But some of the people I have talked to, they were under the assumption that the house, the primary structure could only be 25 feet, had to be 25 feet. But if that's the case, then we've got two different setbacks as far as accessory structures have to be 10 feet and the house would have to be 25. But I just want everybody to recognize that it says 25 feet on R1, R2, right down the line L1 as well, which we know why L1.
Barry, this is Russ.
Yeah.
The 25 foot was always intended to be for the primary house. Then if you had a garage, a detached garage, that would set 10 feet back from the rear yard as a minimum. And that's been like that ever since I can remember. Are you saying that got changed, or that's the way it is now?
That's the way it's written now, but it was never written that way before. It might have been practiced.
Oh, it always
Yeah, it
was
does-
written that way.
It doesn't
Pardon?
define what building. It just has a statement. It doesn't define if it's extra, it's the accessory structure or the main residence.
Oh, you've had problems with that, but maybe it needs to be fixed somehow, but the intent was always that the primary structure needed to be 25 feet without a variance, but an accessory structure had to be 10 feet without, like if you had a shed out back or a garage or whatever.
Well,
That was the intent. Now, if you got to fix the ordinance to make that right, I recommend that you do that.
Well, every since this has been, man, L1 has been that way, but everything has always been.
That way, Barry. It's always been that way.
I disagree, Russ, but that's all right.
well, so what we're saying is, if I could go back to what Russ said, is that primary residence can't be closer than 25 feet from the rear setback. But if you have a secondary structure, accessory structure, it can go within 10 feet of the backyard setback, the rear yard setback. Now, that would make sense if we put that in writing. We probably, if that's consensus of everybody, that's what we need to do, is get it in writing so it's more clear.
Hey, just to jump in here, guys, this is Jonathan. So it depends on which section you look at. If you look at like the individual zoning districts, like the page for R1, for R2, for L1, which is like pages, like one of them's 26, I wrote down kind of that section.
26.
That shows the setbacks for the primary structure. So it says 25-foot rear yard setback. But, at the bottom of those pages, it says, see these additional, and one of the additionals is accessory structures. Right where we were just looking earlier at the bottom of page 82, it details that, an accessory structure setback is 10 feet from the rear yard. And then there's even a separate measurement if it's on a corner lot with an alley and things like that at the bottom of page 82. So the way it's being enforced now, and from my 5 years, my memory was that it hasn't changed either, Russ, at least in 5 years, that's how we've done it. And that is what the ordinance says. It's just not all on one page. It's the cut sheet at the front just says the setbacks for the primary structure, and then you have to look for the accessory structure in section 6. If that makes sense.
Okay.
Right.
So
John,
It doesn't
it's
even, if
there.
you look at page 26, it doesn't even say the primary structure. It just shows a picture of it, and then it says minimum front yard, minimum
Yep.
rear, and it doesn't give the, even the which building it is.
But the wording is there, right?
Yes.
but on page 82, Jonathan, this was where it was rewritten and added to the new ordinances.
I don't think that part's new, Barry. I could be wrong, but I don't think that part at the bottom of page 82 was changed, if I remember right, other than the L1 districts
Says
part.
in the yards area, abutting a street, an accessory structure shall maintain a minimum setback from the right-of-way line equal to 1/2 the distance required for the principal structure, unless otherwise provided for within a given district.
So that's for a corner lot only.
Right.
Yeah.
But before, it was always still the 25-foot setback for the corner as well. The side yard, it stated in the old one that a side setback would be the same as a front setback when it's on the corner, when you got a street on two sides. Residence.
Yeah, this is Don. I don't think the two pieces of language, the bottom of 82 and then back on 26 they're not inconsistent. And I don't have any knowledge or recollection of what the ordinance used to say, but the language on 26 refers to single family, and that whole section is a single family residence. So to me, that would be the only way to interpret it. That is to the residence, and then 82, which is more specific on accessory structures, gets you to the 10 feet. So I think the language as it is sort of, kind of validates what I heard Russ say and what Jonathan said.
All right, let me give you an example. In R1, it says minimum front yard setback 25 feet. In R1, it says minimum yard front yard 15 or 25 feet. Both rear yard setbacks are 25 feet, but yet we can put a house on L1 25 feet off without an accessory structure. Saying you can't put a residence, it has to be 25 feet.
Yeah.
Well, Jonathan, at the BZA meeting next month, we're going to have Mr. and Mrs. Smith are coming in for rear yard variance from 25 feet down to 14 feet for an accessory structure. Because that's how I looked at it.
I guess what I'd like for everybody to look at though, as far as our ordinances and the variances that are required or that are asked for, applied for, we're getting a lot more variances asked for that doesn't even come close to what our ordinances are calling for. And I don't know whether we're too enforceable. I don't really know what the word is, but or else are we trying to be more lenient for whatever reason for construction? I don't know. I'm not very good at trying to explain what I'm trying to say here, but I don't know if you guys get the gist of it or not, but it seems like we're having our ordinances, but we're getting a lot more variances and ordinances are more ignored, I guess, one way of saying it.
Well, I think sometimes we have rulings, they have to go through the hardships and everything else. I mean, sometimes I think it's just a matter of, I don't know, sometimes we have trouble saying no.
You may be right there too.
I think we can clean this up on page 26, guys. Pretty simple. If you just, put in there exactly on those bullet points in there, clean this whole thing up. It'd be a lot easier for the normal Joe on the street to try to interpret this. Because if you've got this in here as a check down, quick look sheet, and it doesn't have anything in, we got to go on the back in the appendix looking at page 83. I don't think it's serving its purpose, because to me, you look at this is supposed to be a snapshot and everything, giving you the nitty gritty of it in layman's terms.
All right. We'll look at that as well then. Everybody agree on that? I mean, we're looking at setbacks
Fine.
in basics for zoning ordinances. I mean, from R1 through C2, I guess, C1. But I mean,
Well,
I
it's not-
do need a,
I don't want to put words in Pete's mouth, but it sounds like what you're saying is just when it says like minimum front yard setback, you're just saying make it minimum front yard primary structure setback or
Sure,
something like
that's simple.
Because-
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the battle you have is you can't put all that information on one sheet that's alluded to at the bottom, right? I mean,
Yeah.
otherwise, then it's 10 pages. Yeah.
And then and like I said, you get in there, you can put minimum rear yard setback for primary structure and for accessory building, and 2 bullet points right there on that same one, and clean it up.
Yeah, I think that would help a lot.
Would we want our attorney to look at this after we sketch it out?
I might be scared.
No, I don't think so.
We shouldn't. do it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's to the suggestion to just clarify, and I'm guessing we're going to go the same way we did with the other one, and that's kind of table and come back with something specific next time. But kind of more of a question or a suggestion to Jonathan and Chuck is, then are there other places other than an R1 on page 26 where we got to do kind of some similar cleanup?
Yeah, it'd be all those. It'd be R1, R2, S1, L1. It'd be all of them, probably.
Yeah. Correct.
I mean, we can actually address in part, but we need to do it thoroughly. All right, anything else as far as any new business? Or any more comments? Anybody can get
If no one else has anything, I've just got an observation that I want to throw out there. We're having an astronomical, well, I don't know, we have an attorney listening in, so maybe I'll say we have several houses that are being built across the road from the primary residence, and they're putting a garage underneath and living space up above. If you look at West Shore Drive, just down from the landing there, Gary Craig, Robert Pereira, Demores, they're all like that. We've got another one going up around 1040 West Shore now. I've pushed as much as I can to make them, I believe that ICC, International Code Council, says that a minimum structure has to be 950 feet. So I've been making them go to at least 951 square feet on that second floor before we issue a permit. But that's about all I can do. So we have people with primary residence on one side, secondary residence on the other side. I mean, we can never stop that. People have money, but maybe we want to stop building these small little houses in the L1 areas. Kevin, I saw you look up there. What do you think?
I think that's going to be hard to control. I don't necessarily disagree with you. And I see the problems, particularly where you're talking on West Shore, where the properties on the lakeside are so freaking small that there. But it's a typical loophole. I'm not sure how you close it without opening another one.
Probably right there. That's a good point. Anybody else? Opinions or thoughts?
At that spot, it looks like a tunnel when you drive through there now. It's,
Yes.
unbelievable.
The good thing is right now, people own on both sides of the lake, but sooner or later, they're not gonna own on both sides of the lake.
Yep.
Somebody else is gonna own it. Somebody
Yep.
passes on, kids don't take it, whatever it is, somebody else is gonna own it. And so are we increasing the density of people with access to the lake, or are we being good stewards? I'm not sure. Just a question, something that I see. There's about 4 or 5 that have gone up in the last year and a half.
Yes.
It's causing me concern.
Yep. I agree.
Years ago, Pete, I'm gonna address you here.
Yep.
You've been on the planning commission longer than I have, I think by 1 month, but anyway. You've been on here long as I have to know over the years, we have met this problem several times as far as people wanting to build a garage with living quarters above it. Now, we have faced this several times, and I know there was times that we had limitations as far as what was describing living quarters.
Number of fixtures and no fixtures and you name it. I mean, that area there was the one I think was a really the landmark case, and it seems like it just we're no closer to shutting it down than we did from day one.
Right. I mean, do we want to allow? I mean, we don't allow 2 primary structures, which are residential structures, but yet we're going to allow 2 residential structures being put on the property for circumstances of putting something above a garage. So, I mean, are we contradicting ourselves as far as we stop from happening and then turn around allowing to happen?
Barry, this is Jonathan. I'll just throw in the 1 or 2 of those cases, maybe a variance was allowed for them to do it on a single parcel. But in several of the cases, I think that Chuck's seeing now, there are no variances. It's someone with a separate parcel owned across the street where they're building a house with a garage. Yes, it's a small house, but I mean, if it meets what our requirements are for a house with living quarters and bathroom and kitchen and the appropriate amount of living space, I have trouble thinking that's something we need to have a lot of control over, honestly.
If right now, I mean, we've got cases, especially on the west side, where the owner owns both lots, but they are considered 2 lots.
Yeah.
And then there's other places where the owner owns the lot, both of them, and they're considered the same lot.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so we run into that to say, where do you stop, where do you start as far as what's allowed?
Right.
Well, and Russ worked pretty hard on that to get those eliminated. I think we were down to 20 some of those that owned across the road. And, you know, we've been trying to eliminate those when possible.
Separate, Chuck.
Yes, separate them.
I mean,
No,
if there's 2 different lots, then you can't, as long as that house is big enough on the garage, there's nothing that you can control on it. You have to allow it because it's basically.
Chuck, I'm assuming these are starting out as garages and then just something appearing on top.
No, they start out with wanting, they want to have a garage, but the only way they can have the garage is if they have the living space above it, if they have it as a house. They really want a garage, but now they have a guest house.
Yep.
But it's 2 different.
2 different lots, but they got a 951 square foot guest house.
Yep.
But by ordinances, they'd never be able to combine those 2 lots.
Correct.
You could have funneling, but you couldn't control it because it wouldn't be funneling because it's 2 different.
Because it's 2 different lots, it could be 2 different owners.
So I don't think that's even an issue that we could address, honestly.
Okay, well, I just want you to be aware of it.
Yeah, I know.
Take a look as you drive around and see what I'm talking about, okay?
Appreciate it, Jeff.
Why can't you resolve it by taking the garage out from underneath the house?
By taking the garage out,
say you can't build a living quarters above a garage for
Well,
safety reasons.
if that's what we put in our ordinance, you could say that, Wayne. Right now, code doesn't say that because you can live above a garage by code, by state code.
Years ago, I didn't think that was allowed. Maybe I'm not remembering it properly.
Uh, Town, cities,
And this is Kevin. That's not always the case either, because I've been approached on those before where what they're really after is additional bedrooms for the lake house. And then to meet the ordinance, they end up building a guest house and separating it in order to get that. But they're really just looking for additional space in some of those tiny houses. Yeah. Everybody's got a different goal when they're doing it.
Good input, Kevin. Thank you.
Yeah, I would just say too that, honestly, I'd rather have the taller structures, not on the side of the lake, but away from it, as we're seeing down there on the west shore.
yeah, I'm sure everybody agrees on that.
Okay, moving on.
Moving on. Next, I'm going to introduce Chuck DeWitt to the group for a commissioner's report.
Well, give you a little bit overall view of how our county is going. In 2019, and you may have heard me say this before, Marshall County had the most building permits that we've ever issued in a single year. And we also had the largest valuation of those same building permits. So 2019 was a banner year, without a doubt. Culver being a big part of that. And we went through the first quarter of 2020 and we were 18%, 18.5% above 2019 for the first quarter. I mean, we had a blowout first quarter in 2020. And I just want everybody to be aware of that. We may have cooled off a little bit in the second quarter. We don't have final results in that yet. But I haven't seen a slowdown in Culver. We have maybe a little slowdown other places, but not in Culver. Culver is just really booming. I was talking with Jonathan earlier. I'm getting calls almost on a daily basis, and most of the time, 2 or 3 calls talking about buying property. And well, if I buy this property, what can I do with it? How can I look at this? Can I expand this? What can I do? I had 3 of those calls today where people have made offers on properties, and they're not lakeside properties. These are back off the lake. People from around the country are finding Culver a very good place to build, and not just lake properties. I mean, lake properties have been hot for a long time, but I haven't seen properties off the lake really coming and blossoming and making better and nicer neighborhoods. So, that's something that's different about this boom that I'm seeing in Culver. Some people have enough money, they can buy whatever they want to, but others are now looking and buying off of the main roads and the back properties to find a really nice rebuildable property in a quiet neighborhood. So I think that speaks a lot for Culver and how comfortable people are about building here. So that's kind of all I've got. Next meeting, I'll bring you up to date on the first half of the year, and hopefully we have positive reports there too.
Thank you, Chuck.
Great.
Anybody have any questions? Any members have questions for Chuck or comments? All right. We'll move on to citizen input. We've got a couple citizens out there. Anybody have anything?
This is Jonathan. I'll do my two things right here if nobody else wants to step up. I think I emailed everybody and let you guys know that Commission member Marty Osterbahn submitted his letter of resignation. Marty's doing okay. He's just been battling some health stuff and thought it was best to step down. If you guys remember, he was just appointed in January, so it'll still be a pretty lengthy term. And it was a position that was a non-Republican position, so it could be a Democrat or Libertarian, Joel, or independent. And it's appointed by the council president. So I think at our next meeting, we'll officially, the next council meeting, put it out for application if anyone's interested, and accept them, and hope to make the appointment at the first council meeting in July. So we'll probably have it open through like July 9th or somewhere around that time frame.
Do they have to live within the town, Jonathan? on that
Yeah, it is
appointment?
the town limits one. Yep.
Okay.
So if you
Okay.
do know
When's the next meeting, Jonathan?
for
Our
council,
next, plan commission.
next plan commission meeting will be July 21st. And
Okay.
so we'll hope to have someone appointed for that meeting. And I was going to also mention, as far as that meeting goes, I think in July, the council is going to try and meet in person, though we've had a lot of positive feedback about being able to record these and put them out on YouTube and things like that. So at least for the council meetings, I think we'll try to do kind of a hybrid version. We may try it for the plan commission meeting, but our attorney, Jim Clevenger's recommendation is that for our public meetings for July and probably August, to plan on not using town hall. That room's just too small to have much of anyone come in besides the commission members themselves. So for your July meeting, probably looking at using the main floor of the beach lodge. So you guys will get to take a look at that now that it's been remodeled and there's lots of space up there. So I'd plan on that for the July meeting, and we'll also probably set it up in Teams as well if people want to join online. It'll probably be a combination of the two.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, that's all for me.
Anybody else? Input. Rile it up a little bit. We have lunch. Moving on, commission members, concerns and input. But I would like to say first, which I had on my list here, I just want to say farewell to Marty, but I'm really going to miss him as far as on the plan commission. He was a great force for this commission.
Yes.
Anybody else have anything? I'll start with you, Chester. You have anything?
No.
Pete?
I just want to echo your sentiments to Marty, because he's always great. He always had a little different view on something, and that's always great for this body.
Yes.
John?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Marty is a great colleague on the commission. He's a personal friend. So we'll miss him. Glad he's going to be around. The other thing, guys, if we're going to do virtual again, we got to really work on this Pledge of Allegiance, because that was just awful.
It was bad.
I couldn't tell.
It was rough.
Dan, you have anything?
Yeah, kudos to Marty. I sat next to him on all the meetings that I attended, and miss him, and hopefully his health issues get straightened out.
A great member.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Wayne? Wayne, you have anything?
No, I really don't have anything. Marty's a good guy.
All right, at this point, if nobody else has anything, discussion from anybody else, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
So move. All in favor?
Aye.
All one.
Aye.
Aye.
Hey,
All
who
one.
made
Just like
the
Pledge allegiance.
motion and who seconded, just so I can get that down?
All right.
Do we need like a metronome that we could have going on in the background for Pledge of Allegiance?
It could be.
I think it was a group nomination, Don.
All right, I'll attribute it to somebody.
There you
I
go.
heard Pete get in there.
I was in there, but I don't like to get my name up in lights.
Thanks, guys. Good seeing
Thanks.
you all.
Night,
All
night.
right.
Stay
See
healthy.
Good
y'all.
seeing you. Good
Okay.
night.
Thanks, guys.
Good night and good luck.
Night.
Hi, Jonathan. Come back in. Oh, I was gonna say, before everybody leaves, might, come by and sign the minutes sometime. Update them. Right now, we've only got the one. We've already let BZA get. I'll come in fine.
Okay, we out? Yeah.